After over a month and a half, Bam Adebayo is back. Bam returned to the action against the Toronto Raptors on Monday night, and the result, a gritty 5-point win. We break down how Bam did in his first game back, his impact on Miami's offense, and much more. All of that coming up next.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Heat Nation. It's a Tuesday edition of Locked On Heat, your daily podcast covering all things Miami Heat. However, you may be listening on YouTube, Odyssey, or your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm David Ramil, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Wes Goldberg. Bam Adebayo returned to action on Monday night for the first time since November 29. 49 days in total, going 15-8 during that stretch, but still missing a key part of their team. Bam's return meant changes to the starting lineup, with Kyle Lowry out due to personal reasons. Bam would start the game alongside Jimmy Butler and PJ Tucker, of course, and Gabe Vincent in place of Lowry. And Duncan Robinson, after coming off the bench for the past 5 games, got the assignment as a starter. As you can imagine, there was some rust early on, and the Raptors are a team with decent size and length. They challenged every possession, made things difficult for the Heat. But Miami slowly found their footing, led once again by Tyler Herro and his 23 points. The Heat pulled ahead to a 9-point lead with about 5 minutes left, and momentum seemingly in their favor. But the Raptors kept the Heat scoreless for the next 4 minutes, and a Pascal Siakam dunk cut the lead to just 3 with a minute and a half left. But PJ Tucker knocked down a dagger 3 with 20 seconds left. Fred VanVleet would answer with a 3 of his own with 14 seconds left, but very fittingly, on the last possession of the game, Bam Adebayo would be fouled by OG Anunoby and hit both free throws to end the game, 104-99. The win, coupled with losses by Chicago, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee, puts Miami in a virtual tie with the Chicago Bulls for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. They're technically second, but it's a great win, a gritty win, as I said before, almost a playoff atmosphere, or as close as you're going to get in mid-January, Wes.
Yeah, what is it, 5 percentage points or like a fifth of a percentage point or something off of first place? And we're talking about very small amounts here. But yeah, FTX Arena was rocking tonight. It was a really, really great atmosphere. I think the hype of having Bam Adebayo back, Tyler Herro having a big game off the bench, the fact that it's a well-known opponent in Toronto, which is a really fun team to watch. And I think the 2 best coaches in the NBA were on the sidelines tonight in Miami. And so all of that combined, it made for and just the fact that this was a really gritty, gross, kind of bloody game, just like this physical game. And that's the kind of game that Heat fans really get up for. They love that. They love when Caleb Martin is getting the chase down blocks and Tyler Herro is making contested jumpers and Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are throwing elbows and getting rebounds and all this stuff. They love that kind of game. The Heat delivered that kind of game. This is the kind of game Miami prides itself in winning, right? There's a lot of things that we could take away from this game, but I think you're leading with Bam Adebayo is the right way to go. Really impressed overall with this game. Look, the box score for Bam wasn't, it didn't blow anybody away. 14 points, 9 rebounds, a couple of assists. Right. But to me, the most important thing is the 32 minutes that he played. I mean, he came out, no minutes restriction, nothing like that. And granted, the nature of the hand injury, like that shouldn't be a conditioning issue, but you can't really practice in full gear the way that you normally would, right? He's kind of running with scout teams and stuff like that over the last few weeks, but his conditioning was right there. Eric Spoelstra said it before the game. He's ready to go. We're ready to go. He's starting. He's getting the full allotment of minutes. That's exactly what happened. And his impact was made right away. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Not right away. He didn't score at all in the entire first quarter. And I was kind of like watching him. He looked a little rusty. And I'm like, when's it going to come for this guy? He got his first bucket a couple minutes into the second quarter. And then right after that, hits like this Euro step in transition for his second basket since he came back. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's what Bam Adebayo can do. Dwayne Dedmon's not doing that. Omer Yurtseven's not doing that. As great as those guys have been, they're not pulling the Euro step with like a Giannis-like fast break. They're not doing that. There's not a lot of players Bam's size that can do that. And you saw that. You mentioned the free throws at the end. That was so key, especially when they went for almost 5 minutes, I think, without a bucket. And I was just like, all right, this is Jimmy Butler time. This is Tyler Herro time. But even before those free throws, David, Bam was getting offensive rebounds. He missed a couple of tips that are just sort of fluky misses, but he could have easily broke that scoring streak at 3 or 4 minutes. or the scoreless streak. And I thought that he was just giving Miami chances all night. And I don't know that we saw. Well, I'll phrase this as a question. Do you think Bam Adebayo changed the outlook of Miami's offense all that much?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
there's a big number here in the box score that's pretty glaring. The 24 3-point attempts.
That's exactly what I was going to get to. Like, their offense completely changed. The ball movement that we've seen over the last few weeks, even with Jimmy in and out of the lineup, completely. Well, I wouldn't say completely missing, but not as obvious, right? They weren't swing the ball around the perimeter looking for that open shot. It wasn't driving to the rim and spraying it out. Right. Bam kind of occupying the paint a little bit, slowing the game down, getting to the line a lot. He had 7 free throw attempts. Jimmy had 8. A very different style. And as you pointed out, that big number, less 3-point attempts there. Even with Duncan in the starting lineup and 5 3-point attempts for him, just not enough. Max Strus took 6 coming off the bench. Tyler only had 3. It was a very, very different game than what we've seen from the Heat over the past couple of weeks.
24 3-point attempts is the fewest 3-point attempts, the fewest 3-point attempts they've had since December 6th, the 3rd fewest in a game all season long. For more context, OG Anunoby and Fred VanVleet, just those 2 Raptors combined, took just as many threes as the entire Miami Heat team tonight. I don't know that this was a function of Bam Adebayo coming back and doing all that mid-range stuff and Jimmy Butler doing all the mid-range stuff that he was doing really early. Like Jimmy Butler, he was kind of taking over early on in the game. He ends up with a triple-double, 19, 10, and 10. But I actually think I'm not ready to say that, hey, Bam coming back, the 3-point shooting that we just saw is dead. I think a lot of this was just Toronto's defense. They are so long. They chase everybody off of the line. They were doing it all night. It's hard to swing, and you got like 40 limbs in all of your passing lanes. And that's kind of what it's like when you're playing the Raptors. So I'm not ready to make any sort of conclusions on this because you got to give a lot of credit to Toronto. They came in on the road on a night where Miami was hyped for Bam Adebayo's return and deserved this win just as much as the Heat did. The Heat were just able to get it at the end. That's a really tough team, a really long defense. Spo said it after the game. There's a few teams in the league that they're just different. They're just completely different than any other team. And because of that, it makes it harder to prepare, to scout, all these things. And Toronto defensively is one of those teams with all of their length. They have these lineups where it's just everybody's 6'8", 6'9", whatever it is. And I thought they made it hard. So I'm not ready to make any conclusions. I'm interested to see what happens against Portland on Wednesday, for example.
Very different team.
That's a game that they could shoot 43s in that game and be like, oh, okay. Yeah, they're right back to doing this again.
I think isn't that where they set their season high? They played Portland a couple of weeks ago.
That's about right.
With Duncan coming off the bench. I think that was the first game where he came off the bench, and that was one of those explosive offensive nights. It might have been that one or the Phoenix Suns game. I can't recall exactly which, but either way, yes, I could see why Bam impacted it to some degree, but maybe not enough to really say it's a complete shift or anything like that. So
right.
we'll
I actually think without Bam and Jimmy, they don't win this game, right? Like that sounds like an obvious statement to make, but I thought the 3-point shot was not working for them because of Toronto's defense. I thought they really needed that physical play from Bam and Jimmy tonight.
Absolutely. And look, they were able to get to the line. They were able to control the pace of the game, get their points. Maybe they could have been a little bit more effective from the field, but overall, I think they made their impact offensively, and they had both good nights. Look, we're going to give our player grades for most of the roster later on, but I will say for Bam Adebayo, I'm ready to give him a B+. Maybe not quite an A because he was 4 of 12, but a B+. So much energy, so much hype. The team on social media doing something I don't think I've ever seen. The return of Bam Adebayo being hyped up with several tweets about him coming back. UD holding a sign on the sideline saying, welcome back, Bam, etc. Like, there was a lot of energy, as you mentioned, not just in the crowd, but from the fans in general watching this game. It was great to have him back. It's clear that as good as Jimmy Butler is, as Kyle Lowry is, etc., Bam is like the heart and soul, the centerpiece of this team moving forward. So I think a B+. Go ahead.
B+, I'm with you. He changes so much of what they do and how they feel and the confidence that they play with. Defensively, he's so freaking good, man. Like, he's all over the place defensively. I don't know how true this is, but both him and Spo saying like he couldn't sleep all of last night. I think he was texting Gabe Vincent. He was texting Gabe Vincent in the middle of the night like, I can't sleep. I'm so excited. Look, he looked rested. He looked good. And it's really great for Miami to have him back.
All right, well, we'll move on and we'll talk a little bit about some of the other players that had an impact on Monday night's game. But first, just wanted to tell you a little bit about Prize Picks. If you're an NBA fanatic, and you probably are if you're listening to this show, have you heard about Prize Picks? Because Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Prize Picks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market, offering more NBA props than anywhere else, and offers all the superstar players as well as bench players only recording a handful of minutes each game. All of your users that deposit and use your promo code will receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100. Just be sure to use the promo code NBA. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com and use the promo code NBA, or go to your App Store and download the app today. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy.
All right, boys and girls, it's time for report cards. Let's get into some player grades. We're going to start with Gabe Vincent. What a game for him. He gets into the starting lineup because Kyle Lowry is out for personal reasons. Gabe Vincent, his box score tonight, 15 points on 6 for 12 shooting, 3 for 6 from three-point range. No assists, but had a couple steals, had a couple of blocks. He was a -7 in the box score tonight, David, but this was an example where that plus minus doesn't really tell you the whole story. Gabe Vincent, you watched that game. He no doubt made a positive impact tonight, and we're going to talk about it here. But his grade, I'm giving him an A, and I think that might seem high considering that it wasn't like a 20-point game. He didn't register an assist despite being the starting point guard, but defensively, I mean, that is a hard team to defend. We talked about their length defensively, what Toronto can do on that end. Offensively, they can get to the paint. They can get to the basket. They put a lot of pressure into the paint. They're able to kick out the shooters and all these things. And Gabe Vincent, he was playing Fred VanVleet to start a lot of possessions, but he was getting, with all the up and down pace of this game, a game that had like 22 lead changes, by the way. He was getting slotted onto Pascal Siakam and Anunoby and Precious Achiuwa, something and Scotty Barnes, and he was not afraid to play up, to have to defend up multiple positions. I thought defensively he held his own. Offensively, he just did enough. Just because you're a starting point guard, the offense was still running through Bam and Jimmy and Tyler. I thought he was great. I thought he was great in Lowry's spot.
I agree 100%. Even said after the game, as far as your point regarding guarding bigger players, that for him it's actually easier to some degree. Having to slide up and guard a bigger player like Anunoby. He had a couple of steals. Like Anunoby was generally flummoxed. As good a player as Anunoby has become, even able to create his own shot. I think against a guy like Vincent, who had really quick hands. I think he was able to disrupt a couple possessions there, looked really solid on offense. And you're right, as far as his playmaking role, he didn't really have one. He didn't need to because you have Bam and Jimmy out there controlling most of the offense. But as far as being an outlet on offense, being a catch and shoot guy, even being able to put the ball down and create your shot on occasion, he did a wonderful job. It's amazing that here we are a couple months after people were besmirching him and saying he wasn't really an NBA player, and yet he's established himself as a legitimate player. I know we'll talk about somebody else along those same lines later in this segment, but Vincent becoming the clear backup point guard and deserving a significant amount of playing time moving forward, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. I know we're going to talk about whether or not he can get those regular minutes because this is a game where he didn't play, or a game after he didn't play in Philadelphia. Right. And he's given all these minutes in his starting role, and he doesn't miss a beat, right? He's right back to the Gabe Vincent that we saw in December, and when all these guys were injured. Our next player here is Tyler Herro. Got to talk about this guy. 23 points, 8 for 16 off the bench, 1 for 3 from three-point range. He got to the line, went 6 for 6 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Just 1 turnover, a +6 overall. His player grade is P. As the kids say, Tyler Herro is pushing P lately. Great Instagram post from Max Strus after the game showing that Tyler Herro dunk. I texted you that Tyler Herro dunk over Precious Achiuwa. I'm like, he's not supposed to be able to do this. That's not his game. It can
alligator arms, little alligator arms,
no athleticism. He'll never be able to get to the rim. He's not just getting to the rim; he's getting over the rim, and he's doing it over other players who are way bigger than him. He's not supposed to dunk like that. We've seen things like, not a dunk like that necessarily, but we've seen dunks close to that a couple of different times this season. That athleticism is real. You credit the work that he did over the summer, the strength gains that he has, the explosiveness that is there. It's unbelievable. Max Strus, after the game, posting a series of unfortunate events to Instagram, showing every single step of that dunk over Precious Achiuwa. Precious hitting him back on Instagram saying, say less. No, and then Tyler Herro, No Limit Hero on Instagram. At Precious, dunking on P has to be super P. Like I said, as the kids are saying, he's pushing P. He's absolutely a legitimate score for this Heat team. And with that kind of highlight reel dunk, I think people are going to start noticing if they haven't already.
I think you're absolutely right. The dunk was phenomenal, a punctuation mark on an otherwise great game. Otherwise, I think we're also seeing constant evolution from him. Like we keep talking about his score because it's easy to do so, but his playmaking has taken on a whole other level. I think his defense has significantly improved. And we also saw another phase of that development today and able to get to the line 6 times. That I don't think it's a career high for him because he's probably had a few aberrations here and there. But overall, I'd say that this is kind of trending upwards where he's able to, again, draw contact. He's able to absorb it a lot more easily because of the work he put in over the summer. It's the next step for him. And he's just become a much better, much more all-around effective player than he was in years past. And he's shown significant growth as we projected that he would. Again, because what happens when you're young and have all this ability and then can actually take the time over a full season, off season to put in the work? Well, you get better. And we're seeing the evidence of that. And we have been all season long. I think I saw this point being mentioned on Twitter on more than one occasion, but I think it bears repeating here. If the Heat are somehow able to become the top seed in the Eastern Conference, and that's how it seems to be trending, especially with Brooklyn missing Kevin Durant for a significant amount of time, go check out our debate about that on a recent episode that we posted just yesterday. But either way, when it looks at, if you could say that Miami is the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, doesn't somebody on this roster have to be selected to the All-Star team?
I knew that's where you were going. And I want to get this one out of the way. Jimmy Butler gets an A, triple-double, 19 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. We talked about him already. It's got to be either Jimmy. You've got Tyler. He fell out on Thursday of the top 10 guards, backcourt players in the Eastern Conference. Heat fans, get out there, vote for your guy, man. Like you're seeing, like, again, the team I used to cover, the Warriors, like they've got all these votes for Andrew Wiggins, and Wiggins has no business being in the All-Star game. I know he's scoring 20 points per game, but I'm not that impressed when you're the third option offensively and everybody's guarding Steph. I don't really like Tyler Herro's numbers are really great. And if you want, I don't think he's an all-star, but you'd like to at least see the fan vote get out behind him a little bit more. I think when it's all said and done, Jimmy Butler ends up in the all-star game. Because let's remember, even if he's not voted in as a starter by the fan and media vote and all that stuff, the coaches are going to make him a reserve. They love Jimmy Butler. Nothing but respect. Bam's missed too many games, but otherwise he would have had that spot. But you wonder, I don't know, man. Like we've got 2 more weeks of this stuff. Like I don't know. Yeah. But you're looking at a team like Cleveland that can have 2 All-Stars. You can have multiple teams in the Eastern Conference having multiple All-Stars, and you've got to you look at Miami and you're like, well, why couldn't you have multiple All-Stars? But part of the reason is because what are you going to do? Put Caleb Martin in the All-Star game? Like I don't know. Like those are kind of the guys that have been doing the heavy lifting for so much of their season. But anyway, those are the end of the player grades. We're going to move on to some big questions facing the Miami Heat. Mainly, some of these guys that got A's tonight, like Gabe Vincent, how does he get back into the rotation when everybody's healthy? That's coming up next here on Locked On Heat.
Just a reminder, today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. They'd like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the #1 spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022 new year, and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. And don't forget that promo code LOCKEDON. Just a reminder that you can always reach us via email at lockedonheat@gmail.com or via Twitter using the hashtag AskLHeat. Be sure to please subscribe to the show. And as always, leave a review. I should also point out that today, Monday, a very busy game across the NBA because it's Martin Luther King Day. You know what? A celebration of a man that was helping usher a new era in American history. And while there's still so much work to be done, it's also good to remember all the work he does and all the work that so many others have continued to do. Please go out and do your part whenever possible. Try to bring some racial equality to a country that is desperately in need of it. But anyway, as you mentioned before, we've got some questions about the rotation, something that we feel, we were talking about this even before we started recording. This could be like several episodes because Omer Yurtseven, who a lot of people have pencil in to Springfield, Massachusetts as a surefire Hall of Famer, plays 0 seconds in today's game, a game where he could have had some kind of an impact, but we didn't even talk about Dwayne Dedmon, who was able to actually help out Miami significantly because of his overall length, his ability to pull down some rebounds in key situations. He finished with 9 boards in total, including 4 offensive ones. So a great game for Dedmon. We didn't even really talk about Caleb Martin. He had some significant plays as well, really impactful as he continues to be. Great defensively on Fred VanVleet on a number of occasions, able to switch onto Anunoby and others. Just a big game for him overall. And what happens with these guys moving forward? Because I don't know that there's any clear answers, but that's what we're here to talk about. What do you think? Who is most likely to drop out of the rotation moving forward? Is it Yurtseven?
I think so. Look, we saw another 9-man rotation from Spoelstra tonight, and we know that that's his comfort zone. He likes to run 9 guys, especially when he's got everybody available, and that means that when Kyle Lowry's back, I don't know that Gabe Vincent doesn't play 27 minutes. He might not play at all. It might look more like that Philadelphia game, and against Philadelphia, we've got Yurtseven getting the start, but Bam wasn't available. Bam comes back. Omer's out. He's not, he's out of the rotation completely. That streak of whatever it was, 14, 15 straight games, double-digit rebounds comes to an end because he doesn't even get any minutes. And that's fine. And you have Eric Spoelstra after the game saying, look, I thought about putting Yurt in a couple different times during the game, decided not to do it. And that shows me a couple different things. That shows, number one, he thought that Yurtseven could potentially provide them something in a close game. And the other thing was he decided against it because there's something important in maintaining that 9-man rotation. And when you have not much, and we've talked about this, when you don't have much of a runway to the playoffs, you really need to maximize this amount of time to build chemistry. And if you're running 10 or 11 guys out there and mixing and matching all these lineups, it's a little bit harder. It's just a little bit harder to develop that chemistry as quickly as you need to. And so I think that you're going to see Eric Spoelstra tighten the rotation. Now, on the same time, he did say after the game, and I do believe him, they will continue to use the entire roster. That means that Yurtseven will get time. That means Gabe Vincent will have his moments. That means a guy like Kyle Guy, who just signed onto that 2-way contract, will get moments. All these guys are going to get moments, but maybe it's because of different injuries. Maybe you're holding people out on the second night of back-to-backs. Maybe there's some resting and things like that. But or maybe it's matchup dependent. I don't know. But for now, I don't really know where the minutes for Yurtseven and Gabe Vincent come from when everybody's healthy.
And of course, we're still not even counting on Victor Oladipo because we have no idea when he'll be back and how soon he'll be able to be inserted into this lineup. But we should also point out Duncan Robinson, although he started, only played 18 total minutes, barely played at all in the second half. And yes, he was okay from the field, 3 of 6, 2 of 5 from 3-point range, a +2 in his plus-minus rating. But defensively, looked a little out of place, wasn't quite able to move his feet as well. I guess he went with Strus for a lot longer, 29 minutes, although he only had 6 points to Duncan's 8. We kind of keep feeling now that Duncan is being slowly pushed out more and more of this rotation, and I don't know that there's a role for him moving forward. As great a 3-point shooter as he is, it just seems like he's fallen out of favor with Eric Spoelstra. I guess they just like a little bit more of what Strus can provide than what Duncan can at this point.
Yeah, Duncan not getting any minutes in that fourth quarter, and Max Strus playing really significant stretches in that fourth quarter. So, look, the big thing is that he had 4 fouls in a little bit less than 18 minutes, and then Strus playing, the 29 minutes off the bench, and he only had 2 fouls. Duncan just got caught reaching too many times early in the game. He was out of position. He would try to chase. There was one bad, really bad foul. I think it was Boucher. I think it was one of the 6'9" guys on the Raptors that went in for sort of a transition layup, and Duncan swipes at him, but it was a soft foul. Boucher still finishes, and it ends up being an and one instead of a no basket and forcing him to get him at the free throw line. And then later in the game, Max Strus actually makes the same exact play, but actually has a more hard foul. It doesn't let the guy score. And that might just be the difference. Just little things like that is that Strus is delivering on those things, better sense of how to defend, better defending in space than Duncan Robinson is, not getting caught reaching as much. So look, Duncan Robinson reinserted in the starting lineup as I predicted. Nostradamus predicted going into the week because of, I think, mainly his chemistry with Bam Adebayo. And this was really, with Bam back, maybe Duncan's like real last opportunity to go out and prove that he deserves that starting spot. I think we'll see it again. I think that Spoelstra basically said we'll see it again after the game. He said he kind of wants to see that lineup with Kyle Lowry in it and kind of that initial projected starting lineup that we thought we'd see at the start of the season. So I think we see it again Wednesday. I think we see that Wednesday against Portland. But this is a crucial time for Duncan Robinson to not only prove that he deserves to keep the starting job, but that he deserves real minutes in the rotation. Because like I said, if you're only playing 9 and you're looking down the stretch and you want to get Caleb Martin in the game, Max Strus in the game, if there are nights where you might say, you know what, I want Gabe Vincent instead of Duncan Robinson. Or I might want Omer Yurtseven in instead of Duncan Robinson. Like that stuff is that's a real question worth asking right now.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we'll debate this more because I think we're going to have a upcoming episode specifically asking all the questions that we've been asking and that we're going to continue to ask about Duncan Robinson, because at this point in time, that's a very serious issue kind of hanging over the team at this point. As good as they've been, I think there is a lot of ideas about whether or not Duncan has a role with his team moving forward or whether or not he can be traded. And we'll break down all the different angles in an upcoming episode. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Of course, on Wednesday, we'll have a full recap of the Portland Trailblazers game. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I want to, how's this for a tease? We're going to do the Duncan Robinson deep dive on tomorrow's show with fake trades, because that's really what everybody wants to know. I'm going to have a whole list of fake trades. You know, I love to do this, David. So that's tomorrow. You got to listen.
All right.
Deep dive on Duncan Robinson, bunch of fake trades. And like you said, recaps for the rest of the week.
All right. Thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Remember that every episode is always free and available wherever you get the show. So make sure you subscribe to get the best coverage available. Make sure to also check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. This is David Ramil signing off for now, and thanks so much for joining me, Wes.
Push and P, Tyler Herro.
I have no idea.